When I was a child growing up in school, my teachers would think of me as a failure, a lost cause, as they would call it. The black sheep, as they would say. They tried to keep me away from most other kids in fear that I would negatively influence them. In other words, most of the people that I was supposed to look up to gave up on me as a lost cause. And the solutions they came up with almost ensured that I would stay that way instead of arousing the possibility of change. I never liked school, but I always loved to learn. You see, what happened here, I think, is what happens to each of us when we go to school. School here doesn't understand the needs of individual children, and they definitely don't help open our young, powerful minds to our highest potentials. They in fact do quite the opposite, and create a whole generation of young minds that are confused about themselves and totally undermine the power of their existence here on earth. Natural human behavior, I believe, is to get together and innovate. Whereas in schools, they divide and rule over us by feeding us with exorbitant amounts of data that we, like computers, must memorize and spit out on verbatim as our final judgment or a calculation of our intelligence. Now, I'm not saying that nobody should go to school. I learned a lot of what I don't like about the world in school. But I'm saying that this method of education is the first of the next interactions a child has with institutions that want to tell us how we must behave and what we must believe. The number of times I would get told by my mentors that I am on the wrong path only fueled the passion for my freedom of expression. The thought was, how can I be wrong when all I'm doing is essentially trying to become the person I wanted to be? Since I was a little kid, I always felt different from the other kids my age. I was the girl in class that did all the things the boys were doing, and probably even more. As I said, I never liked school, and I found it quite hard to focus on the monotonous methods the teachers were using to communicate to us. So I would come up with ways to entertain myself and things to do when I get bored. And this is something that the more mischievous boys in class would do as well. But since I was a girl acting out this way, it was noticed, addressed, and even punished more. As the tremendously sexist saying goes, boys will be boys, right? So the boys would get away with it easy. And that doesn't sound like such a bad thing, you might think. But what happens when the same saying is applied to rape culture and other forms of oppression towards women? Because it is. And most of the people here in India would agree with this saying. When I was 12, I had my first experience with a sexual pervert, and I'm not going to get into that here, but every single one of my female friends have also had to fall victim to at least one non-consensual sexual experience. When I was 15, I was sitting in the library in my school library as a punishment for whatever it was this time. It was like a hobby for them to punish people like me. So I asked why I was being punished, and a male teacher walks up to me and slaps me across my face, leaving me flushed. And then I ran home crying. My mother was an acid attack victim. Why did she get attacked? Because she liked Western outfits and wore trendy. She liked fashion and she wore Western outfits in her small town. Was that a mistake? I don't think so. That is self-expression. That is what helped her shape her identity and her career. In 2007, the United Nations released a statistic that shows the most shocking crime against humanity, and it is the genocide against women. The statistic reveals that up to 200 million women are missing from the face of the earth. We have to allow power shifts between all genders to exist harmoniously and find a solution for the self-destructive world that we live in. The idea of locking women up and covering them up is not a solution. It is a big part of the problem, and we must really investigate and pay close attention to how we raise our boys and start with them first. After finishing high school, I realized my family didn't have enough money to send me to college. So I decided to take a year off, work, save a little, and heal myself from the time spent in oppressive institutions. This is the year I found skateboarding, and I don't think I'll ever regret this decision. My priorities changed, and I started traveling, exploring, trying new things out instead of saving. And what I learned was that I was learning so much more about the world than when I was sitting in a boring classroom. When I started skating 3.5 years ago, I couldn't afford it. Without any higher education, and my mom being a single parent, I couldn't afford it, so I would just go to the skate park anyway, scrounge up just enough money every day to take me back and forth from the skate park, go there, wait for the guys to get tired, take their boards, and then try to skate. But eventually I got better, and I stuck at it. So I was gifted my first skateboard by the Holy Stoke Collective, which became my local crew. These hours I spent at the skate park helped me forget all my problems and focus on something that was more positive and good for the mind and soul, for the body and soul. But little did I imagine that the next years to come would take me to so many new places and put me in so many new situations. From finding myself a local crew to traveling around the world building skate parks, to organizing an all-girls, all-female skateboarding tour, to shoveling concrete in a random village in India. Skateboarding is just the coolest. In 2013, we've built our first free public skate park with the help from this fire crew from Hanover. The neighborhood kids got stoked, and they all wanted to be a part of this magical place that accepted anybody regardless of gender, race, class, or any of that. So soon enough, we found ourselves teaching BPL kids how to skateboard, and then also we extended our services in the form of teaching them math, English, photography, art, etc. Neighborhood donations were pouring in because people saw the potential for change that this place was throwing out. And finally, the whole crew of skateboarders were hauled into action because even though you considered it or not, you became a social worker, and that was involved in community-centered organization. Thanks to the involvement of the German community that realized their values and spread their values for community-centric action, there was a spark that ignited in India, like a revolution of some sorts, where there was new skate spots popping up everywhere, new crews coming up. And Holy Stoke has been instrumental, of course, in in carrying through with the do-it-yourself mentality, and has thus far been a part of building 10 skate spots in India and 5 abroad. Skateboarding to me is that expression of individuality and realizing your strengths and weaknesses, all while having loads of fun and freedom. It is an activity, a sport, a culture, a lifestyle, and a family. You learn so much about yourself through it, and it is something that translates through very smoothly to daily life. And we can use these as applications for daily life as well. And I'm going to explain this in the form of the phrase, keep pushing. Falling. Not to scare anyone away, but skateboarders fall. We fall a lot, actually, innumerable times per session. But that is seen as something very normal and is in fact the basis of actually learning something new. So that sounds pretty much like life as well. We fall a lot, and we fail, and but that shouldn't stop us from getting back on it again. Getting back up. When falling is a normal process, then so becomes getting back up. The more you push yourself, the more you fall, the more you pick yourself up, and then that builds on your endurance to pick yourself up when all else fails. Sounds like life to me, huh? Learning balance and coordination. Once you get in the loop, you start understanding more about it, and you start to learn the right positions, the amount of force to exert on each movement, and you keep going, you keep understanding and getting better at the game. Applying existing knowledge to grow. now that we have finally on understanding a few basics, we can move on to using this existing knowledge to make our skill grow and create new possibilities of expression, hence gaining a higher skill set. And then you're on the way to someone who understands the process of keep pushing. These are all things that can really facilitate in helping women become stronger mentally and physically. And apart from just the act of skateboarding in itself, exists a whole world of around it, from skate park builders to NGOs to magazine publications to skateboard companies to contests, etc. The list can go on. You can pretty much use a skateboard and some creativity and get to different positions within the field. Although several efforts have been made in trying to get more women involved in the growing culture in India, I still can't help but feel the need to provide a more facilitating environment where women can feel validated and grow in a positive environment that they help create. Because in the beginning, everything can be a little too overwhelming. Like when I started, even though I had a really good group of boys that supported me and still does, I've had to deal with people who don't skate, commenting on my skills, comparing me to the boys, etc. And I even got laughed at a couple of times. So I understand why the female participation rate is still quite low. Still bound by old traditions that are hindering our progress. Many girls are not allowed to embody this freedom of expression and have to fight too hard to be involved. It takes much more efforts to get and keep girls in board sports. When I try to get underprivileged kids, for example, to skate with me, they often disagree because their families think it's just for boys, and they are seen as losing respect in a way by being outside like a boy, jumping around. So it's really hard to get them involved. And because, of course, women are just meant to reproduce and take care of the working man's needs, and doing anything that doesn't conform with this idea immediately makes you a bad person, right? I had my fair share thoughts of comments on the way I look and dress as well. Like as if in 2016, a woman with short hair wearing pants has to look like a boy. I've even been told by people that I should look girlier in order to draw more people into the sport. I think many opportunities as well get diluted being a minority. But you have the power to stir things up a bit. And in December last year, I took 3 months to organize an all-girls skateboarding tour that took 12 women from different parts of the world on one bus through 4 different skate cities in India. And this was just remarkable. we also built a ramp from scratch using concrete and power tools. And what we saw on this journey was incredible. You would never think of a bus full of girls in India building skate spots, skateboarding, giving local girls workshops, and just spreading the stoke in India. It was really empowering, the look on the locals' faces. I've also raised what is currently an online platform called Girl Skate India to showcase girls who are getting into it now and inform people about it and get the word out there so more girls are interested in the sport. I realized my potentials and strength through skateboarding, and that's why I want to share it with other girls of the world. And I have immense respect for women out there who are still conquering male-dominated fields and trying to stay in the game. I truly believe there's a female revolution in skateboarding going on right now. And the fight is what will push us to achieve more and realize what we are capable of as women and as skateboarders. So I came up with an idea for the future. Why don't we create a space for women and girls alike to come together outside of their schooling lives to build on community-centric action? Using skateboarding as a tool to motivate young individuals, we can create a space where the kids can learn an assortment of things like building and using technology creatively, administration, community-centric leadership skills, self-sustainability, farming and agriculture, etc. And it being indoor is a massive point to pay attention to, because I feel like when we give girls, when we create a space for women to support other women, then it makes it better for them to make decisions and take action on their own terms. This is not a new concept, and we can see the positive effects of using skateboarding as a tool to encourage youth participation in organizations like Brigadiers Gymnasium in Malmo, Sweden, Skateistan, which have in Cambodia, in South Africa, and in Afghanistan, and in our very own Kovalam-based NGO, CISP. So, they all use skateboarding as a tool to achieving a larger goal, basically. And taking Skateistan as an example, over 40% of students there are girls. And this organization also has the highest number of female skateboarders in the world, which is really shocking, right? It being in Afghanistan. But who would have imagined? Then when we take our own Sebastian India's social projects, or CISP, they've also seen a constant rise in the number of destitute children that are willingly entering back into school again after having dropped out for whatever reason. And then finding a passion in skateboarding, they realize they are more reassured of their progress and develop hope in trying again. They've also seen a tenfold increase in the number of female skateboarders in 1 year. So I might not have already convinced a whole bunch of women to start skateboarding, but I have a vision that I see as serving the communities in ways that I always dreamt of serving the world. And I hope that more people start to believe in community-centric action. So whenever you're confused with situations that are hard or uneasy, don't give up, keep your shine alive, and fight for what you think is right, because it will eventually show in the most unexpected ways. As Martin Luther King Jr. says, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. So don't be silent when you get out there in the world. Keep your shine alive, stay true, question everything, and keep that rebel child within you alive. Thank you.